Welcome back to the Intentional Household Podcast. Today, we're talking about something that brings clarity, connection, and calm into your home, core values. We'll break down the difference between family core values and household core values, walk you through how to define each type, explain how we use it in our home, and why having these values written down can transform the way your home runs and feels. If you've ever struggled to explain what you expect, what matters to you, or why something feels off in your household, this episode is for you. We're talking about core values today. How do core values fit into a household?
Yes, it's interesting because I don't think anybody normally thinks about core values and associates it with their household. Mm-hmm. I think that it's often something that is you see more with organizations. It's a formal thing that we have it for intentional household. Other organizations I've worked with kind of grounds you into a certain identity and company culture.
Yes.
So it kind of, when you know the core values of an organization, you kind of get a sense of what they're about and what's going to be expected in terms of not just like work output, but like internal behavior.
100%. And today we're going to be talking about both internal and external members of the household. And so we really want to use these and set these core values to help guide all of the members and give them an understanding of the behavior or the principles that we expect everyone to live by.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they are so common in organizations where there's, so many different people and you have these expectations that you need to make very clear. It's interesting why that's not typical of households. Like I certainly never sometimes I hear about like those are our values, but I don't think they're formalized the way we're sort of discussing today. It's kind of like a few things that are a sense. Maybe you have them more if you are involved in, let's say, even like religious households. Seems to ground them into what their Christian values are, or Jewish, or whatever their religion is. That sometimes comes into a family and household, but this is outside of that. Specific religious values. We're just talking about values that you develop on your own as you're raising your family. And I think it's kind of may not be obvious in the beginning. I mean, maybe some people have the foresight before having kids to discuss this, but I certainly didn't. And I know most of my friends I don't think have either. So today we're kind of bringing that in. Like, I think it's a great concept, and certainly at any point in your as you're raising your family, it is a good idea to actually think about that and develop some very clear core values, family, internal, and then also external for any support so that they know.
Yes. And so we will get into the difference between these core values that we're talking about. So firstly, we have family core values that we'll be discussing. And so this is internal. This is within your own family, with the family members. These are the behaviors that you really want to uphold them to.
Yes.
And you want to see in all of them.
Yeah. And they're like highlighted, like these are like most important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for household core values, something also that is often skipped, but anytime you have any sort of household support, you really want to use these in the hiring process and when you're doing reviews so that you can make it very clear the expectations that you have of the individuals supporting you. So the household, those ones are more so external that you'll use for the hiring.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I think it's really important to make this very obvious for yourselves within your family and with your children, especially as they grow up and they become teenagers and young adults, and they're going to be making their decisions. These core values will be their guides. Like they're a bit of a compass on like how they make decisions and how they interact with other people. So if you kind of instill these and make it very clear at an early age, I think that can be, just develop them as human beings in a positive way.
And it can really help them in their, let's just say, ethical decision making.
Absolutely.
Or like their morals, beliefs, just using these to help with that.
I think they need that, especially in this day and age with YouTube and social media and all of those things infiltrating all the time. For kids, you really do need to have strong values to like know that when something is wrong, oh my gosh, even with AI and all of the stuff that our kids are going to have to deal with, misinformation and all those things more than we ever had to. I think it's very different for what our kids are going to be going through. And I think it's even more important to have that North Star of understanding behavior and what is right and wrong, and having these values instilled and repeated at home regularly.
Yes.
I think is necessary.
Yes. So let's just start by creating them. So let's give some examples of what it could be.
Yes.
So, maybe you want something like 3 to 7 core values that you will set. So asking yourselves, and this can be done depending on the age of your kids. So it could be done with just the couple, or for instance, in your case, Tatiana, I would say your kids are old enough where they could contribute, and this would be an exercise that you do together.
Yes.
So how old are your kids?
9 and 6.
I mean, at minimum, the 9-year-olds
Certainly
would be able to contribute. How do you feel about the 6-year-old?
Oh, yes, because they do have these things at school that they kind of have these like dignity, so that they understand the concept. And those things are reinforced in school. They have their own values. Like I said, like organizations have this, schools have this, so they get the principles of what they need. But then I think you need to have your own at home, again, that reflect your values.
So I'm not going to share all of mine, but I will share some that would be a family core value for us. Respect.
Definitely.
I expect that all family members will respect one another and show respect to other individuals as well. So that is on there. And also integrity. I expect that they are going to follow a certain behavior and code of ethics, whether someone sees them or not.
Yes.
So integrity is very important to me. You do what you say you're going to do. And so that's another example, like 2 of the ones that we have. But it could also be kindness, empathy, if you want to throw any in there.
Trying to think.
It could be adventure. It could be, like playfulness,
curiosity. These are things that, there's so many different values that you can have. Most importantly, it's taking the time to figuring them out. What are your most important values that you want to instill?
One of the questions that you could ask yourselves is, what kind of people do we want to be? How do we want to treat each other in this house? Those could be some guiding questions. And I think sometimes when you ask your kids, it can be easier to get answers than from the adults.
Yes. And I think it's thinking about how do you want your kids to be like when they're out on their own, of like what kind of people are they going to be? Non-judgmental, like whatever that is, making sure that they are just very clear that this is what we expect from you. And like you said, you point out when no one's around you even, to still maintain this type of behavior.
Yep. So it's kind of like the shared language of the family. And, if this could take multiple days. It's a full process to put this together. So you might not be sitting down and you have your core values in 1 hour. This can be a process. So you could even put words on a board. You could make a poster, something like that. And then as you brainstorm these words, you could slowly chip away at removing any that you expect anyway, lumping any together that may overlap or be similar. And then that can really help to narrow it down.
Yes, I actually think you do need to put them up.
Oh, yes.
Because if you don't, or if you don't regularly bring them up, then they kind of don't really stick. Like we have this for organizations where we go over this before almost every quarterly meeting. And just to reinforce that. And even though it's like a repetitive process, it just reminds everybody that this is what we're about. In case you forgot.
Yep.
This is what we're about. And I think you need to do that constantly.
You do.
Especially with your kids.
Yes. Yep. So maybe you could make some sort of poster and put it up somewhere.
In a picture frame, something where you are regularly bringing this up. If you have family meetings, if you have those types of things where you want to, even before you're planning a trip, like it's just something that, and remember, we're going with a family. These are our values. This is what we're sticking with. Going off to summer camp. This is what we're sticking with. These are our values. Like these are, again, they are guiding principles as they make decisions. Start of the school year, all of these like opportunities to kind of bring this up and like really instill this in them.
Talking about it regularly. Yeah. It's not just setting it and then putting it away somewhere. It's keeping it out where you can see it and
live by it.
them.
Yeah, live by it.
And communicate it regularly. Yeah. So that's the family. Let's talk about the household core values. So these are, like I said, expectations that you have and the support that you want to bring into the household. So this could be a house manager, the housekeeper, a cook, nanny, even the babysitter, something like that. Let's just say some examples that, I can give you. It's if you are worried about someone coming into your home and them witnessing or observing things in your household, maybe discretion is something that you want, right?
Yep.
It could be punctuality. If you're worried about someone canceling all the time or being late, maybe punctuality or reliability is one of them. If you want someone who's like family focused, kid friendly, something like that.
Flexible.
Yeah, flexible.
Some families may need a very flexible relationship, and like our schedules may change, and like you need to know that like that's important for us to live in a flexible way. Others, opposite. We need to be very, not rigid. I'm trying to look for a different word, but that's, punctuality, all those things are much more important. And it's just always important to highlight that, not just like, okay, these are the terms of work. It's like a different level.
It is a different level. And if we are treating the household like an organization, it really is essential. It sets the tone for the position that you're hiring for, that you take this seriously, and that you have set core values. And these are something that I go over with every hire, and I think they're always quite surprised when I go over the core values and give them the speech of our core values, because
they've never probably come across it before.
It's very unexpected, but they appreciate it. And people have communicated to me that they appreciate it because the expectations are crystal clear.
Yeah, yeah. It's like any company culture. You can tell the difference.
Yes.
Of like when you experience a different company culture, it can be very relaxed, flexible, all of that, versus another one that's we are structured, we are driven, we are, very focused. You just come in there and you can just feel the vibe when everybody's living by that.
Yes.
And you can tell when there is no.
You can tell.
It's just kind of like,
And one thing, Tatiana, that you and I have noticed, because in our company, we go through core values, like you said, every quarter. We've noticed that every single member lives by them.
Yes.
Because we talk about it all the time. We use it in the hiring. We use it quarterly. And if anyone wasn't living by it, it would be very obvious who was not the right fit.
We do it quarterly because then we set our goals. And our goals are based from those values.
Yes.
Like they drive the value, the way we're going to be approaching that quarter. So that's always why it's kind of reinforced. And then again, for a family, a household, it's like all your decisions are being based around that.
I will share a couple of mine for the household. One of mine, believe it or not, is growth oriented. So a lot of people may not think of growth oriented for their support, but for Alex and I, we want individuals who are growth oriented. We want someone who's coming into our home to support us for a period of time, and someone who wants to strengthen their skills and grow as an individual, both personally and professionally. We don't want someone who wants to come into the household and wants to be with us forever and gets complacent. We want someone who is evolving and growing and is making their future bigger than their past. So growth oriented is actually something that is very important to both of us. And does it mean that, like the state we're in right now, after 2 years, our Saturday nanny is moving on to the next chapter of her life? Yes. But we're celebrating that because that's what we want for her. And it worked well for us because we're transitioning to a new stage of our life as well, because our kids are so young. So growth oriented is very important to us. Another one also is integrity, because I want to be able to trust that when, let's just say, our housekeeper or our nanny isn't in the presence of me, they will still follow through on my expectations. Yeah. They aren't doing something behind my back. They are living up to a certain code of ethics.
Yes.
And I can trust that if they're in our home, they aren't snooping around or, taking things, which I think goes with the value of having integrity. And so that's another one that is very important to me.
Well, you mentioned before also just like privacy.
Okay, privacy, yes.
Which again, something you have to explain in a way that people may not understand, that like they may talk about their workday, but they can't talk about everything in their workday. You know what I mean? Like, because that is your private life. You know, when they can't go home to their friends and start talking about, you know, how are things with so-and-so, and they get into some of the details, but that is something that you are looking for an individual that values privacy well and won't do that.
100%. And you can't take that for granted.
No.
Because it could be privacy, it could be discretion. What I have noticed is that sometimes household support, I'm going to say nannies, love to come together and share information about their employers to one another. And that is not something that I want.
Yeah. And in some cases, somebody else may not think twice about it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if in your case, that's very high.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I will give an example. So that isn't one of our core values, but I will say, that I think that would come up probably with integrity.
Yep.
And I hadn't had that conversation with our nanny when this situation happened, but our nanny had said that she was chatting with another nanny, and the other nanny was actually asking our nanny questions about me, personal questions about me. And our nanny was so uncomfortable with it. And she said, you know what, I'm not comfortable with these questions about Laura.
Yeah.
And she shared that with me. And I thought, wow, thank you. Because to that point, we had never had a discussion about privacy nor discretion. And I think that is something that a lot of people overlook.
Yeah. And clearly you hired the right person based on those values.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, thank you. And, you know, like the same thing with our housekeeper. I know people have asked questions about us, and let's just say like whether we're home or like what we do. And she has been very clear about not sharing information about us. And so you just can't take that for granted. If that's something that's important to you, you need to communicate that. And if you need to set that as a core value, then do it.
Yeah. Anybody that's going to be spending a lot of time in your home, I think it's important that they know what those values are.
Yep. And so if you're setting your core values, some tools to guide you, let's just say, or some structure can be, what are behaviors that you have seen in other households who have support? What are some things you've seen that you like or don't like? And so really that's where like I have seen in some other households, sometimes like what I say to our nanny is, when you're outside of the household, I don't want you on the phone, because I want you engaging with our kids. And I don't want you like chatting away with friends or family from back home.
Yeah.
And that is something that I have seen with some nannies. And so that's something that I communicate. And like for us, that's the integrity thing. I communicate expectations in a certain place in our hiring that I don't want them on the phone. But that could be one. If you've seen that behavior and you don't like that, then that could fit in somewhere with your core values. How do you want to feel, or how do you want those individuals to feel in the household? What behaviors or mindsets matter the most to you? So again, it could go back to the punctuality, honesty. A can-do attitude.
Oh yeah.
Right? Someone who's ready to take on the challenges of the day, someone who's like flexible. You know, let's say that for our housekeeper, our dog comes home and has like crusty poo on their butt, and that's out of the ordinary. But she's like, you know what? I can do this. I'll clean it up. I don't want to, but I can do this, as an example. So really, just like with the family values, just start with a list of words that resonate with you. Just
big brainstorm, mind map, whatever sort of works. Just trying to get it out on paper, I think, is just the first place to start.
Yeah, even something like clear communication, that could be one. Attention to detail, you know.
And then just kind of like narrowing it down from there to like 3 to 7 big ones.
Yeah, narrow it down. I know one thing, think about, are these expectations that you have in everyone that you would expect them to have anyway as support? And or does this go beyond that? Because if this is just ordinary behavior that you expect, I wouldn't put that on there. But it's just something that is particularly important to you.
Yes.
And then for each core value, define what it means so that it is clear to the individual what you mean, like what I mean when I say integrity, or what I mean when I say growth-minded. Come up with a speech for your core values.
Yeah, for family ones too, obviously, like respect can be, I think for children, sometimes hard to define. They hear about it a lot. I mean, certainly in schools and all of that respect. But I mean, I think in just giving them a lot of examples and color to what that exactly looks like within your home, I think is really important for them to understand, especially at a very young age.
100%. Yeah. And so you're going to have your list of the core values. And then ideally, you would have these set before you hire your individual. So when you are hiring them and you're interviewing them, you will communicate the core values of the household. And again, it sets the tone, and it sets the tone for professionalism. And professionalism could even be a core value, because some people might think like this is a household, it's more casual vibe, maybe like it's more friendly. And if you're like, no, I want someone who's maintaining this professionalism. I don't want to be hearing all this like personal stuff. This isn't a place to be bringing in your baggage. If maybe professionalism is one that you want to set. So you're using it in the hiring. And then if you are doing your semi and annual reviews, which is highly suggested, or your performance reviews, you are going to go over the core values then as well.
Yeah.
Again, so it's in their mind, it's crystal clear, and you can check off to see if they are living by them.
Yes. And we've spoken about this before of, what was the episode? Help. My nanny's driving me crazy, or help, something like that. What was that episode we had? It was one of our earliest ones.
Yes.
But I think this, if you listen back to that episode where we talked about this, that, having a nanny come into your home every day is an important relationship. And so without these sort of values very clearly explained straight from the beginning, you end up having what we discussed in that episode, which is just a difficult, time was wasted. You haven't been able to get support. You're actually feeling drained, not energized, because you've picked the wrong person to be in a very within your home and trying to help you, but they're not helping you. And they're actually causing you more stress than any relief.
Yeah. And so if you already have support and you don't already have core values, I would say still create the core values now and communicate them now.
Yes.
And it will really define whether that person is a fit or if they're not a fit. And if you communicate these core values and they almost realize oh my gosh, these are not core values that I want to live by. You know what? You may realize that they will weed themselves out very quickly.
Yes. Otherwise you're in that help my dad and my nanny's driving me crazy situation.
Yeah. So either maybe they'll change or they will quit. And then you can use these to hire the right person.
Yeah, and having the right person in that makes all the difference. Right people, right place.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so it's really just putting down on paper the culture that you want the family or the household to live by.
Yeah, I think it's a great practice to have. Again, if you've something that, most households probably have not done, most families haven't done, but it's a wonderful way to somewhat reflect on as life gets busy. And again, we're living in this crazy world, just remembering what your values are to make decisions, I think is always a good thing. So there's nothing bad will come from this.
No,
Only
exactly.
good.
Yeah.
Only good.
Yes. Yep. And it's really to bring ease to everyone, provide consistency.
Important even for parenting, just remind, as when you start off as a parent, you start off with babies that don't have any behavior really. So you haven't developed those, how are we going to parent them? How are we going to parent them through difficult decisions? And those parenting decisions, they just come up all of a sudden and you usually feel unprepared. All of a sudden you have a 12-year-old that wants to put on makeup. And you're are we okay with this? Or did I, when did this happen? And all of a sudden you just feel like you're just thrown into these where you haven't had a discussion with your husband about it or prior to this. And having these core values just kind of brings you back to how you're going to handle that. Because you're not always together if you have a two-parent household where you have to try to make unifying decisions, but you're not always in the same place. And all of a sudden your kids are just throwing these bombs on you. You need to react and give them the right guidance. And these will always kind of bring back just remembering that.
Yeah.
I think that is a great thing to incorporate if you haven't.
Yes. They will help you to reflect on what matters most to you and really bring that intention, like we always talk about, to the household.
Yeah.
So for anyone who wants to do this, and we really hope that you do, we have a tool that people can download, and they will be able to set their own core values.
Yeah, just simple like prompts. Mm-hmm. That again, you don't just kind of takes the thinking out of it. You can just go through it and you'll be on your way to having some core values that you can live by. And I think that will make life just a little bit easier, I hope, in some households.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for listening to the Intentional Household podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Join us on Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest at Intentional Household, where we're sharing even more tips, tools, and resources to help your home run with more ease, intention, and joy. Until next time, here's to creating a household that supports the life you want to live.